Hey, so extremely excited to start episode 1, version 1, beta 1
Take
version
one.
of of Unicorn Finders. And obviously, so this is a podcast specifically that Jake, Dan, and I came up with this idea. We both really wanted to bring value. We have all these side, backdoor conversations, side channel conversations about how to improve with scaling teams and, how do we work from a business perspective on this one problem. And so both, Jake, Dan, and I kind of have been talking, and we want to start up this podcast. And I think everyone's doing a podcast right now, right? So you're probably, oh, great, another business podcast. Here we go. But I will assure you that no business podcast has the word unicorn in it, which will probably freak some people out when they find us initially. So the big thing for this podcast again is, it's going to be ever evolving, ever changing. We're going to try our best to obviously bring value in many different areas. And so before we get into kind of more of our goals and what each of us see, this podcast growing into, I definitely want to give kind of each of us give a background about each other, because I think that's incredibly important as we grow this podcast, where individuals know about our backgrounds and kind of where we're pulling our history from. And so, Jake, if you want to go ahead and kick it off and give everybody kind of a in-depth background, kind of where you came from and kind of where you're at now.
Yeah, I'm Jake Shepard. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's important to note that we're all from different spots here. And I've been there about 10 years now. Started out my career in nonprofit fundraising out of Los Angeles, and then just serving that city, doing anything we can to really help the impoverished parts of that city and help to also bring Hollywood influencers together. And from there kind of sparked my love for community and connecting people, and moved to North Carolina in 2009 when there was pretty much nothing going on whatsoever, and had just signed a book deal and decided, man, I really need some benefits. Took a job at Trader Joe's, and then just got hooked on just the community mindedness and the way that they treated people and helps them scale, and started their first social media platform that they had ever had back in the day. And then was looking for a way to kind of expand outside the four walls a lot more. And that wasn't necessarily where the company wanted to go at the time. And found my way into the staffing industry, which was just a really fun way to be able to introduce people to other people. And sometimes I get paid for it and sometimes I don't. And either way, it's fun. And from there, I've just been pouring into economic development within the Raleigh-Durham area. Sit on the board for multiple startups here in the area, and innovation initiatives, and trying to partner to just kind of bring more innovation here and entrepreneurship into the Raleigh-Durham area. It's kind of this cohesion around tech and people, and it's been a lot of fun. So I'm excited to do this and hopefully have some guests that know a lot more stuff than me, and just have a lot of fun with some great dudes as we're talking.
That's awesome. Hey, by the way, I didn't know you had a book deal. You had a book deal?
I did, yeah.
Like picture books or like an actual book?
Coloring book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was coloring other people's. Yeah. No, I had a book sold almost 40,000 copies before it went out of print a few years ago.
Really? That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And question for you, Jake. So for people, what is your role at Vaco specifically? Right. I think people are going to be like, oh, great, 3 dudes from Vaco, or do they all do the same thing? Do they all, and yours is incredibly different than both Dan and I. So shed some light on that.
Sure, yeah. So I'm a senior director of Vaco Engineering, and what that is that we have an engineering team here in Raleigh, North Carolina, specifically around software products. We focus on buying down technical debt, doing technical due diligence, proof of concepts, MVPs around software products and enterprise. We also have been trying our hand the last few years at some digital transformations, which has been really fascinating to see how technology can shape an otherwise non-technical company, and really help modernize and streamline their efforts. So I'm a geek at heart. It's kind of one of those who can't do recruit. So I'm here to immerse myself with the techies, and so we've built a lot of really cool stuff. We've done some extremely large companies and some ones that we kind of did a favor for. So we're happy to do both. So
I love it. And how is your I'm interested how you got into that, right? Because I think a lot of people, start in staffing like you did, like we did, right? And then you saw a need. So what was your mindset? Like, how did you get to that place? Because for those of you who are tuning in for our very first podcast, Jake really is doing something that not a lot of people are doing at Vaco in general, right? I mean, definitely not, really what Dan and I are doing. And so how did you get into that?
I honestly, I wanted to be as close to the tech as possible because I'm kind of I hope to be anyway. I view myself as kind of an innovative entrepreneur myself. So I wanted to be as close to the people that we could actually partner and build something of our own together. And the more that we built these long-term relationships, the more and the tighter that the market got for that type of talent, the more we realized, well, wow, we've got a great thing going. Some of the best engineers in the area don't work together. We don't want to work for other people. We want to continue to build things, and companies it's just too tight to be able to bring in those senior engineers over and over again. You just can't afford them, can't find them. They don't want to work for your company for long periods of time. So if we focus on keeping our core team strong, it was a help to a lot of our clients because they could still get the ball over the goal line and make sure that they were hitting their objectives without having to wait 3, 4, 5 months to build this perfect team of senior engineers and get rejected in the, right before someone started and counter offer came in and all this stuff because, we already had our team built. Right. That started, I built those connections through a meetup that I founded called Downtown Techies. We're a little over 5,000 members now here in the Raleigh-Durham area.
Humble brag.
And humble brag is, yeah. So we're the largest tech centric meetup here in the area. And we do monthly, bi-weekly events now.
Bi-monthly. Or do you do twice a week?
That's the words, bi-monthly. There it is.
Bi-monthly. Hey, listen, we're in this together. I love it, man. And so how many engineers do you have working for you now or working with
30.
you?
Yeah.
30?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. And so Jake, I mean, obviously I'm really excited again. I'm super excited to do this podcast with both you two. One, you both are my dear friends, but also we're able to pull just from such crazy experiences and backgrounds. And so I'm fascinated to kind of dive into this and learn more about kind of how you have scaled teams, staffing up 30 engineers, right? I mean, most companies can't even do that themselves, and let alone one person. So props to you on that. Daniel, my man, Dan Thompson from the sunny state of Florida.
Double Dan.
Say what?
Double Dan.
Yeah. Dan, take it away, man. Tell the 1 or 2 listeners that are going to stumble upon us because they're looking for other things in the unicorn space and not business.
Yeah. That's why
go ahead.
Yeah. So I too work at Vaco. I've been with Vaco for, almost 7 years now. Live here in beautiful Tampa, Florida, where it is perfectly sunny and a nice crisp 80 degrees right now. I lead our technology practice. I mean, my goal is to help bring in new clients to Vaco as well as help grow our teams here, right? So, similar to Jake and what Jake does in getting involved in, our different environments and communities, I do things, that are somewhat similar to Jake, but a little bit different. Jake is more on the project and production of SOW and product, and I'm a little bit more on the advisory and consultative side of helping them with just talent search as an activity, right? We're not doing as much consulting as Jake is and his team's doing over there. So we're a little bit more talent advisory, I guess, when it comes to hiring folks, but would love to do a little bit more with what Jake does. And maybe one day, maybe even through this podcast, I'll explain how he does it because I've been asking him for years on how he does it. But no, I originally come from South Florida. I'm an 8th generation Floridian. So went to University of Florida, go Gators. I left the area though for a couple years. Right out of college, I went to go work for my fraternity headquarters for 2 years, where I traveled, taught them about leadership, about recruiting, about accounting and finance, filing their taxes, opened up a few new groups, and then for a year I managed a group of what we call leadership consultants. So I traveled for about 90% of the year, got me a chance to visit most of America, meet a lot of really awesome undergrads and volunteers that worked with the fraternity. But after 2 years, I was ready to settle down and ultimately ended up in this world of recruiting that I'm still trying to figure out how I landed up in. And gosh, 8.5 years later, still alive and kicking. And I feel like a dinosaur, boys. But outside of that, my interests include wine.
Yeah, they do.
Nice.
What is the best wine you've drank recently?
Like bottle or
just a grape, just maybe
Yeah, I'm a big white Burgundy guy, big Chablis fan. I had a really nice Barolo a couple weeks ago.
I saw that. I need to open up mine.
I'm getting into big old world wines now. I was a big new world wine guy for a while. I mean, I didn't start drinking wine until a couple of years ago. I mean, I'll be honest with you. My experience with wine up until I was probably 25, 26 was a lot of, slap the bag with Franzia, right? So I didn't
Hashtag frat life.
Yeah, frat life for sure. And I was big into bourbon, and then I had an opportunity to go to California for a wedding and decided to go to Napa Valley, and I just fell in love with it. I was sold on California wines for a while, and then I moved into a new house, and I had a wine shop and wine bar right across the street. Got to know them, and they were big old world wine people, and here we are. So all of a sudden, this podcast on business and unicorns has turned into a wine podcast. So.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I think you joke, but I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of similarities, and I want to bring that out, obviously, with all of us over the next few weeks and months, or however long we can keep this thing going. But I mean, I think that's what makes it so much fun, right? We don't have to just talk about business, right? We can talk about your favorite bottle of wine that you just drank, your favorite bourbon, as you just tasted. So, Dan, how many people? I guess talk to me about kind of your time at Vaco, right? So you came in, I guess, how big's the team you're managing now, and kind of what are some cool things that y'all have done recently? Dan, you put yourself on mute, Dan.
My apologies.
Okay.
So
first time.
Yeah, it's the first episode. It's my first time ever doing a podcast. So So when I joined Vaco, we had, I think, 10 or 11 people. We're up to about 20-ish folks now. What we've been able to do during my time at Vaco is really cool. We've been able to, when I joined Vaco here in Tampa, we didn't really have much of a name. Our group had really only been around for a year and a half or so before I joined. And so it was really an opportunity to buy into a vision. And that vision was that, we want to build clients that are relationship focused and understand the value of partnership and relationships rather than just being a vendor, right? Like, I didn't want to be a vendor. I'm not going to be the person that negotiates with your procurement office, on markups. My goal is to help you and partner with you to say, hey, we're going to have an above average cost likely, but I'm also going to provide you an above average experience. So what does that mean? I mean, that means I'm going to get to know you and get to know the intricacies of you and your team. I mean, that means that I might, jump in deeper into, personality tests, with potential candidates, certainly with technical assessments and everything else. But my goal is for me to be able to walk around your office and people know who I am and they're familiar. And it's not just like some guy wearing a suit that looks like an auditor, or it's not just like, oh, that's that recruiter guy that drops off donuts. I don't want to be either one of those. I want to be the guy that people say, hey, that guy helped us build a really cool and rad team. And so over the last 7 years, I mean, our numbers have grown by almost 600% in terms of revenue, and profit margin is not that far behind that. So we've been able to build a really, really successful team, and we're still pretty lean. I mean, we're still looking to add folks to our team, but we have very low client turnover. We have very high client satisfaction rates and net promoter scores. So like, those are things that I care about. So it's like this vision that I bought into of what we could create and what we have created is there. And so now it's just multiplying that and scaling that out.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah. And again, right, I mean, you said stuff differently than Jake said stuff. And that's why I'm just so excited to kind of dive into this kind of mindset and how we do things from a business perspective over the next little bit, over the next few episodes. Cause I think without even bringing anybody onto the podcast, period, I think us three could chop it up on different topics for the next few months and learn so much from each other. And that's why I'm really excited to obviously hang out with y'all. So my background, thanks for asking, guys. I appreciate it. So my background, my background. So I graduated from the University of South Carolina, go Gamecocks. Almost had the Gators a few times. We're going to get y'all this year. It's fine. So graduated from South Carolina with a business degree with a minor in marketing. Actually, a double major in management and marketing.